Hello, Brendan. How's it going, bud?
What is up? I'm doing good, doing
Um,
good.
I wanted to put you on the spot, and before I introduce you, I wanted to see if you could give us maybe a low energy version of your original OG sign on. Could you do that for us today? Could you?
Uh,
Could you?
so back in the day, yeah, I used to. All right, here we go, here we go.
Here we go. Here we go.
What's up,
What's
y'all? You know
going on?
who it is. It's your boy Brendan, representing the coach Brendan. How y'all doing today?
Just want you to do. We could just make that the episode, and I'd be happy as can be. Some people are like, "What are they on?" And guys, I want to tell you, it's life. It's on. It's life. That's what I'm on. Yeah, high on life. So Brendan and I want you to say your last name. It's Manansala, right?
Yeah, Manansala,
Okay.
correct.
Okay. So it's not on the screen,
Oh yeah,
but Brendan's last name is Manansala, and he is known as the coach Brendan. Brendan has been my coach for years, and I have had the opportunity over the last year and a half, to help him with marketing, and it's been a ride.
yeah.
I've enjoyed it, and Brendan and I are also just super similar, all the way down to like both of our main personality profiles.
Yeah, pretty
So
scary.
it's wild. It is like it's wild. And then I found out in the last like 6 months or so, I'm really similar to his wife as well. And it's like it's like a total trip. It's like I can see like you think about the internet and you think about people that you know via online, and that's how Brendan and I know each other. And attraction does happen. Like attraction marketing is a big buzzword, and we could break it
Mhm.
all out, but it does happen. Like you do attract like-minded people into your vibration. Like I believe that. Um, for all of my people that are like, "Ooh, she's saying woo-woo words. I thought she was like a church gal." I love that. I live for that. Like, come at me. Um, I just believe that whatever word you use to associate that with, like you can say universe, or you could say like, who created the universe? Well, I believe God did. Brendan
Mhm.
believes God did because
Yep.
I know him. Like it's just so interesting to me, like so interesting to me that people get hung up on things that I never actually say. And I know as a person who lived a lot of their life on the internet, I know without a shadow of a doubt that you probably have had that same situation in your past. People putting words in your mouth. How does that hit you, my friend?
In terms of what?
Maybe it's not exactly what you said, but they heard it a certain way.
Um,
Have you ever had
yeah,
that one before?
no. Uh,
Really? Okay. I
yeah.
love that.
Um,
I love
so
that for you.
I guess what you're saying is like people feel like a similar way in terms of like I don't understand. Maybe repeat like
So, you have been online for longer than I have, as far as like you've
long
been
time.
out long time, like over a decade here. And Brendan and I are showing our age today, but like we're not the youthful kids that you think we are.
Yes,
Okay, we've lived life. Life has beat us down. No, I'm
I know
kidding.
we look young, you know.
We look young. We look fresh. We're actually old, and I'm older than Brendan, for the record. But he has been online a little longer than I have, and in that life, one of my things that I consistently just come up against is I say something, I write something, I maybe it's even a coaching call, like it could be anything. And it's like that is not what I said. Like somebody comes back to me and it's like that is not what I did. That's not what I said. Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah, definitely. Especially being like a personality. I hate the word influencer or
Right, right.
guru
I prefer
online.
content creator. That's
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
going with.
that's what I usually go with too. But people are like, "Ooh, Brendan's on live, being his influencer
Right. His
ness."
influencer
Yeah,
Brendan.
yeah. And then I'll usually say something because it's related to something that's going on currently with my life, and then people just
Yeah.
kind of take it completely out of
Oh.
context and like way out of left field, and I'm just like, that is literally not what I meant at all. And it's even got me into keyboard warrior battles with some people, especially, of course, the people that don't really know me in real life, because by running this business online for over a decade, people add you on your social medias because it's part
Hmm.
of, attraction marketing. It's my job to, attract people who would possibly be interested in getting started with something that
Yeah.
I'm doing. But of course, they come from all different walks of life.
Mm-hmm.
Certain things, kid, I guess, people can take a certain way,
Right.
but you just kind of learn to, I don't know, be calm about it and just take it with a grain of salt with everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things that I see younger creators, let's talk about like being a young creator. I have a lot of those in my coaching programs. And kind of the person that I tend to attract. Well, I don't offer one-on-one anymore. That would be totally different if I was talking about like one-on-one. I just don't have time for that. But like for my group coaching, the person that I tend to attract is like a 0 to 2 years in business. They're pretty fresh, like they're new, and they're trying to figure this all out. But they see me as somebody who's done it, right? And so they're like, okay. And then they see the credentials that I have. And I think the pairing of those things, and then certain people are just going to be attracted to certain people. And I don't mean physically, I just mean like they're comfortable with me, right?
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
that's one of the things. I had a choice who was going to mentor me online when Brendan and I started working together. And he was working with a group of people that I felt comfortable with. They were a similar age to me. They knew their stuff because they had been in it longer than me,
Hmm.
and that was important to me. And so that's who I chose to sit down at the virtual table with. And that, team's no longer really kicking it, but it's fine. Brendan and I are still kicking it. And, I didn't fully introduce you, but the coach, Brendan, is Brendan Manansala. And the way that Brendan and I know each other, you're listening to the up. There is a little thing that goes on before this, so they heard what it was. But this was a project that started in my basement, a passion project last year, because I felt like the need to have a say on topics, like certain things that were important to me. And one of those is definitely content creation and the internet, because I feel like you and I grew up online. Like we grew up
Hmm.
in front of people.
Yep.
And because of the age that we are and because of the professions that we chose. And Brendan didn't go to school for this like I did. What was your major, Brendan?
I have a English major and a kinesiology minor. I was supposed to be an English high school teacher and teach English and PE, just because of how much I love and grew up as an athlete. But yeah, I chose the marketing, sales, and business, every entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur route. Or it chose
And
me, I
when you
guess.
were young, I think it chose you. I think that's exactly what happened. When you were young, did you ever see in your path entrepreneurship?
Um, that's a funny question, just because I've thought about it a lot recently. Even though I was studying to be a teacher, I always saw myself doing something more. At that time, I didn't know exactly what that was, but even as a teenager, I would hustle,
Mm-hmm.
and always find ways to try and get a little bit further along. Whether that is like be in sports, so like do a couple more reps,
Yeah.
go out of your own way, to flipping, like buying and flipping T-shirts and Pokemon cards, and going
Mm-hmm.
on Craigslist, and then doing anything to I guess make money at that time. But I didn't know that. I mean, that's pretty much entrepreneurship at a teenage
It
age,
is.
right?
It
So
is. Absolutely. And Brendan and I know each other super well, guys. I've one-on-one coached Brendan before, and when that happens, I don't even offer it, so don't come at me. But when that happens with somebody, not only do I get a scary amount close to them to the point where I'm predicting things that happen in his life before it happens, and
yeah,
he's like, "Kristen, stop it! Like, what's going on?" It's like a weird vibe. I don't know how to explain it other than that. Like, I'll message him, and he's like, "You can't know that. That just happened 20
yeah.
seconds ago," and I'm like, I do, Brendan, I do." But I know a ton about him. And one of the things I've been on the last like 2 years now, because I was in the hospital 2 years ago last month, this journey of, I feel like I knew who I was kind of. People had spoken into me what I was good at growing up. Like teachers will say, "Oh man, you're writing," or whatever it was. Theater, you and I share that. Show choir, there was things. Like I remember going to like a first show choir rehearsal, and it was a big deal that I was a freshman in our show choir, and because I went to a really really big school. But then a choreographer from the outside comes in, and this guy was really good. And he's like, I just remember clear as day. I knew I was an okay dancer. I had been dancing for years at that point, but I just remember clear as day. He's like, I want you in the front, only you. And like, I mean, he was just, I mean, like, you're going to be down here. And at that moment, you know, not only is that a good confidence boost, but it's like, okay, so this guy doesn't know me. It's not political. It's not related to school. He doesn't live in Jeff City. And he has seen something. You know, it was valuable. It was like, okay, like, so I'm doing an okay job here. It wasn't, I'm not the person and you're not the person. We're very hard on ourselves. So we never think we're the best, even when we are the best. Like, you would have to come at us with a sledgehammer of the best and hit it into our heads. Mm-hmm. We don't think we're the best. And I think that's why we do so well at so much, because we continually try to push the envelope of being the best, because we never believe that we actually are. And so it's easy for me to say that outside. So when I do this coaching with Brendan and we go through this whole process that I have, I call it marketing business therapy, MBT. And so it's hard. It's not an easy process. It's not for the faint of heart. People stop sometimes. They get through it and they're like, maybe this is too much to overcome right now. Maybe they feel like now that they're uncovering things, they don't want to move forward. You know, like, I mean, it's been crazy, like the different people I've worked with over the years. But Brendan was my friend, and he's probably the closest human to me that was close to me before I've taken through the process, like that I knew on a friend level before we started doing this. Mm-hmm. And there was a point last summer when Brendan dropped it for a while, when he was like, yeah, like it was, there was breakthrough after breakthrough. There was long calls. It was forward and back, forward and back. And he was like, I just don't exactly know how to move forward, Kristin. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, there's a lot happening personally. There's a lot happening professionally. And he took a pause. And at that point, if that happens with a client, no matter if I know him or not, like, there's a lot of prayer happening. Because I don't ever want to push somebody in a direction they're not supposed to be. But a lot of times for us to rise and to break, we do have to break first. Like, we have to push through a barrier that we've created in our own life, some kind of mental, emotional, who knows, you know? People have different things. And so I just prayed a lot. It was like 20 days until you and I really talked marketing again, like really checked in again. Like, I spoke with you periodically in groups that we're in, you know, like friend groups and stuff in WhatsApp. But like before you and I really talked again, it was a period of 20 days. And I just prayed a lot during that time. And this is surprising to Brendan because he doesn't know the story. But that's what we should all be doing for everybody. Like, maybe you don't have a program that you run and you're not a coach or whatnot, and that's fine. Brendan and I both happen to be coaches, and maybe that's why we get along. You know, there's a lot about our personalities that are similar. And so when you see something, somebody said something to me a few years ago and it really like lit me up because I had never heard it said that way. Game recognizes game. And Brendan is a sports guy. I'm not sporty at all. Not sporty spice. Hashtag not sporty spice. But I understand the analogy of sports and I understand the excitement. I understand the hype. I actually was on several cheerleading teams, dance teams, hype teams. You know, I am a hype girl. I get it. So I'm not athletic, but I'm an athletic supporter. And I think that's the best, like, to explain to somebody who I am in a short amount of words. I'm not an athlete, but I am an athletic supporter. And like, I want to support everybody. And sometimes it's to my own detriment. And that's unfortunate. And I think Brendan has a lot of that in him too. Because we want to see everybody rise so high. My goal for any person is for them to surpass me. I'm not a person that holds people down. Like, I want it all for people. Like, that's just who I am. But a few years ago, a friend, we were comparing results of a personality profile, and it wasn't Brendan, it was a different friend. But when that person said game recognizes game, I was like, whoa, that's wild, because like it just unlocked a different, you know, like you have these moments and it's like unlocks a different part of your personality or your brain or something that you never just, it was the right time, the right person, the right moment, whatever, you know. And it's crazy because not long after that I would, you know, be in the hospital, almost die, and have that whole saga. But Brendan, the whole point of me sharing that story, you and I have a lot in common, and we've had a lot of breakthrough moments together. So what was, you don't have to get into the, you know, background and stuff details, but like, what was a big emotional breakthrough or like spiritual, marketing, anything that you had last summer that you would be willing to talk on? It doesn't have to be like all the details, you know, but like what was something that you came out of it?
Um, I think a lot of it comes down to, I think, just self-awareness and confidence, with everything that I was doing. And then I kind of reconnected with the church, as well, just because, just like Kristen said, I was a little lost. My life was going in a few different directions, not in like like if I told people like
It
that
wasn't
where,
going in bad directions.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was just confusion, right?
Hmm.
But I think a lot of it was grounded in, I guess being extra hard on myself and comparing to where I feel like I should have been, after being in this, business or being an entrepreneur for so long. So I was extra hard on myself. I kept telling the self talk and self sabotage was crazy, to the point where I was almost subconsciously preventing myself from taking action as opposed to just doing the things that would move the ball forward. Yeah. Yeah.
So well stated. Um, it just like it makes me emotional because I'm so sensitive, but like also because I care about you as a human too. But like it just makes me so happy because like the Brendan of last summer wouldn't have said that. Like there was a lot of hard work that had to go into that, and I'm not just talking about me. Like oh, I'm so great. It's not that. It's the fact that like you didn't come in that way to the program.
Hmm.
Like I offered you something, I offered it to you and Davey, and I said I'm willing to like do this with you guys like one on one. And this isn't something that I do, but like you're my good friends, and I want to see you succeed. And if there's a way that I can help another human, I want to try to do that. And those are some gifts, like. But you communicated it so clearly and so well. Um, I want to go back and listen to it again, and we haven't even stopped recording because it's a great way. It's helpful for me to hear that kind of clarity on the other side because there were some times last summer when I shared with him right before we came on, something that I really wanted to get into this episode because I think it's important. There was a period of about 20 days last summer, and Brendan and I typically talk every day. Sometimes on the weekend, we may not really talk, but we'll check in.
Hmm.
But like we typically talk every day. And it's not a 30-minute combo. None of us have time for that. But we do have a similar business. So sometimes it's a business thing. But a lot of times it'll be like a devotional or a spiritual thing. And it might just be a like, hey, I accomplished my DMO today. Like I did my daily method of operation, like that kind of a thing. But he's somebody that I check in with frequently. And there was a period last summer of about 20 days where I was hardly hearing from Brendan. And he had kind of not vanished, but he wasn't visible online. I've been there, I've done that. And I was just praying every single day for Brendan because it's not like I thought that he was going to, leave the earth or anything like that. It's that I thought that I had maybe pushed him too far. Like the breakthrough was too much. And I was like, okay, Kristen, like you've got to dial it back and you've got to let him choose. Like free will is a thing and pray on it. Let God's always in control. Like I am a tool that can be used, but God is the one with the plan. So Kristen, you need to pray on it. And I did, like every day. And when he came back around and wanted to meet again, the next meeting we had, not only was it like 2.5 hours, but it was like the clarity was there. Like it was a different person that logged on that day. And he was telling me what he was going to do instead of me dragging it out of him. And that's available to anybody. Like, you can go see a therapist for certain things, but for him, it was business too. So that's kind of a unique combination of skills that I have because I do own several businesses and operate several businesses and charities, but then we have a shared business that we do together. And I'm in his downline. It's a direct sales business called Enagic, and we sell water, and we're not afraid of that. So some people are afraid to tell you about it. Yeah, like we love the product and we love what we do. And we both are really rooted at the core, other than all the personality profiles and the human design I could tell you about Brendan and I, because we're similar. I mean, we're almost the same.
Hmm.
But past all of that, we're rooted in gratitude, 100%. Like that is the common thread of Brendan and I. And I identified that so early. Gratitude was kind of a buzzword at the time.
Hmm.
Like let's think about the late 2000s, it was like thankful, grateful, blessed, you know, like hashtag thankful, grateful, blessed. And it was on
Yeah,
all
yeah,
of the home decor,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
like
yeah,
especially here in the Midwest. I don't know about Vancouver,
yeah.
but
It
man,
was
here
here.
it was hot.
Yeah.
It was hot. And I don't ever want to see thankful, grateful, blessed again. Like I'm over it. But I am so grateful. And that was kind of a buzzword in business at that time. It was like 2018, 2019. And I asked Brendan if I could interview him. I love interviewing people. It's a big, like, I think it's like a thing that God put inside me because I just have all these questions. But I don't have a problem asking them. And some people never ask their questions. And I hate that for them. So I'm like, let me ask, get the information for you. Fine. I have all kinds of questions all the time. And so Brendan said yeah to an interview. And so we did the interview. And it was so fun to go back and listen to that like 5 years later when we reconnected, 4 years later maybe, when we reconnected. But I went back and listened to last year's Grateful interview. And listening to that we filmed before your breakthrough last summer, and then the guy that just is here today and the friend that I have, I think you hit the nail on the head with a specific part of it, and it was reconnecting to your spirituality. I know everybody listening might not be on the same level. They might not even believe in God. I don't know. I don't know why they're here today. But I can see that, and that's why in my programs, I had you on a devotional. Like we were doing a devotional every day. We were like chattering about it with Davey too, and that's a huge part of the program because a lot of people just need that scripture in their life to reconnect them in a certain way. They haven't necessarily walked away. They haven't stopped believing, but like it's not part of like maybe their daily routine as much as it could be. And then it's also just like an amazing, like that devotional that we read is just beautiful. Like it's just also just a great way to connect with the word. It's beautiful. It's easy to understand and digest. But then once you get that, then you want more. Like you have that daily devotional and you have that habit, and then you said the word. I mean, I wrote it down. I was looking for something more. And it is like more is available to all of us. And the more that we reach out spiritually and the more that we take action in our business, all of it's connected. But I can't take action in business if I'm not aligned with it. And I'm not aligned with it, I found out, if it's not Christ-centered. That is my business. That's what my business has become. And there's many things that I do and many things that I am. Interviewing people online is one of them. Coaching is another one. But I've seen a huge, not only just shift in you, like a positive shift, a breakthrough in you knowing you personally, but also just in your spirituality and just how you're prioritizing that, like in your household. And even just the way that you talk about your church has changed over the last year, which is really cool to see. I think that you guys have been going to like an early service, right, at church?
Usually.
So that you go to a mega church, like you go to a huge church.
Yeah,
like he sent me a picture. It's like
massive.
Got a symphony orchestra. Like this thing is massive. And I mean, it's in the Midwest here. I mean, Vancouver's a huge city. So it's just a different level, right? Like in the Midwest here, I live in a little sleepy town, America. And, you know, my church feels big to me, but it is nothing compared to that. I'm like, whoa. So he's like up on the mezzanine and he's sending me the view looking down. And I'm like, that is like the biggest church I've ever seen. But that's your experience every week. And I think that it's interesting to think about that in the sense of, I know another one of our mutual friends, he is in the UK. And I've seen his church because he has shared the live stream with me multiple times. And it's smaller than my own. And so it's interesting just to see, you know, we think of our church. Like when I picture church, I either think of the one I grew up in, because that's, you know, in my mind, or I think of the one I go to now. Like that's what I think of. And with church, the word is even hard for me, but we don't have time for that. With church in general, wherever you think of and visualize, and maybe you've never stepped into a church, so maybe you could watch a live stream or something and visualize it. But it's such a personal thing. We forget to remove ourselves from it. And like everybody's having a different church experience. Like everybody's listening to, not everybody, but if you're Protestant, you're listening to a different message from a local pastor, probably. Some people do simulcast, but usually it's a live message and it's all around the same book, but like, you know, it's different. Like there's different brands of it. And so you and your wife, how did you pick the church that you attend now?
So I won't get into a long story of it, but we actually moved churches, I think about 3 years ago, just because the church that Esther grew up with in kind of started moving away. So they do usually an English service and then another
Okay.
in Cantonese.
That's so cool.
And then they just kind of moved away from the English side. So, of course, I have extreme trouble understanding only Cantonese. I do understand, I'd say, just under conversational. And then also just a few things were happening in the church, and then all of our friends moved away too because, of course, they all speak English. So
Yeah.
then we kind of just picked the one that was within walking distance. We actually went to a few different ones, but just like you said, it's so grand, and it's just like I feel like I'm in a rock concert when we start praying.
Yes. Yes. I know the feeling.
So it's just even just that part, the first 15 minutes, when the praise team like starts and worship team starts, you just even if because we go to the early service, I like feel alive and like uplifted, and then just like what I said to Kristen before we started, is it's something I feel like it grounds me for the rest of the week, right? So we
Yes.
start off with
Yes.
positive energy, and especially I feel like I literally walk into a rock concert, so it's very hard to
Yeah.
not smile and be
Yeah.
happy, no matter what just happened in the last 7 days leading up to that point. Yeah.
I happen to love music, and Brendan's quite musical as well. And we didn't know that for the first several years of knowing each other. We just only unlocked this part of our friendship in the last year. And it was probably through the one on one work and just all the time we spent together, which has been fun. Um, there's this one guitarist at my church, and everybody's got their own style, right? And there's this one guy, and they're all volunteers. I mean, this isn't a criticism, but like he will heavy metal it out, man. He will go for it. And I've just never heard Graves to Gardens in that way. Like, it's different when it's a heavy metal version. Like, I'm not mad. I just like it makes me laugh. But like also that's just how we're all created. Like we're all created a little different. And I am not a cookie cutter Christian, and I don't think Brendan is either. And you actually went to Catholic school your entire
Yeah.
upbringing.
Yeah.
And that was something I didn't know till we dove into our conversations last summer. And there was a lot you had to unpack from that. And this isn't an anti-Catholic thing at all. I think there's a lot of really good in it. Like one of my closest humans is like, she's Catholic, and I call her my Catholic friend, and we talk a lot about some of the things I love about the Catholic Church and like Lenten season. I mean, we would just talk a lot about it. And there are some ritual, and it's not a criticism at all. Enjoy the church time putting don't fully agree with. There were a couple of items on my little checklist that weren't checked off quite yet. And so had some hard conversations and like had to ask leadership about a couple of things that were not necessarily bothering me, but like kind of non-negotiables for me in a church. Like if this is where I'm going to raise my daughter, like either can you clarify it? Because sometimes it's just that. Like sometimes
Yep.
it's just like a clarifying
Yep.
thing. Or like, hey, this isn't like gonna work for me. Like I'm not trying to complain, but like this is, and sometimes like one of the things I remember talking on the phone, and one of the things that my pastor was like, hey, that we feel really strongly about that. So like that's not, that's probably a non-negotiable for us. Thanks for letting me know. And then the other two items on this discussion list were much more like, yeah, we're already working on that, or I agree with you. Like I'm with you. I hear you. And sometimes all we need to be is heard too. But I loved when I listened to last year's recording of the podcast with you and I. You talked about every night you and your wife pray, and you talk about what you're grateful for. And that is how I have taught Annie to pray. So for those of you that don't know, I have a 4-year-old named Annie. She's so hilarious. And that is how I've taught her to pray. So like when you're teaching, and I've read books on it, like anybody that knows me knows I go down the rabbit hole on everything. And so I have read books on discipleship and prayer and all this. And like one of the best nuggets that I took away from, who even knows which book it was, because it was years ago now, but it was, when you're teaching a child to pray, always teach them, like address it like a letter, who it's to, who we're praying to, God, always make sure that you say, like, I love you, God, I love you, Jesus. You know, like, reiterate those kinds of things because we want them to be rooted in love all the time. And in our house, we say, I love you a lot. And I know that's not, like, typically the Asian culture of, like, saying it out loud. And then I know that's not what everybody grew up in here either in the 90s. So I get it. But it's big for me in my house. So, like, the first thing that we do is, like, dear Jesus, dear God, you know, like, whatever she happens to say. And then we talk about what we're grateful for. And sometimes it can sound materialistic because she's like, thank you for my stickers. Thank you for, you know, she's 4. But she has learned what we're grateful for. And she kind of goes throughout her day. I can hear it in chronological order. But then we have the portion of the prayer where we pray for things that aren't maybe good. So a friend of ours, her mother just passed away. So I try to include that, and that's very hard for her to grasp at this time, but like that teaches her that these prayers are like for healing and for you know, covering in prayer too, not just like, hey, thanks for my stickers, thanks for my Play-Doh, thanks for my life, you know. So I know you and your wife do that every night, and I think that that's super special and probably a reason why you are rooted in such gratitude. And then it has now become a non-negotiable, like you just said, that you're going to church and that's what's grounding you. You know, it's kind of starting your week out. A lot of people think of week starting on Monday. I always was taught Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That was always the week that I learned from kindergarten. And so even before that, maybe, I don't know. So I think of the week starting on a Sunday. I think of like Sunday being the Sabbath, and that is what starts the week for me. And that is what sets the tone. And I don't work out, like personally, I don't work out on Sundays because I want to spend the Sabbath. It's not always rest. I mean, sometimes I'm doing various things, but like I want to be at church. It's not always my own church. In fact, great story here for Annie. Annie told some people at school that she went to a black church recently, which she did. And the teacher was like, oh, and you know, how was it? And she said, they sing really good there. And she's right, they do. We actually are in a season of, we do have a home church, but we're in a season of going to a lot of churches. And I've been singing various places and just reconnecting with people in ministry. And it's been fun because Annie's seen, oh gosh, I don't even know how many churches we've been to in the last year. But she's accurate. We did go to a black church and they do sing very well. So it's just funny, like what the viewpoint of different people is in different services. But the thing that I enjoy, being a Protestant, I can't speak to anything else, but the thing that I enjoy is at the beginning of Sunday, I might be depleted. The week might have taken it out of me, you know, but like you said, you feel alive. You hear that music, whatever kind it is at your service and whatever service you go to and you love, because we're all allowed to have our own opinions. I've been in some like really unhealthy debates this last year since I've come back online with people that are like, you have sold out, Kristin. Like this watered down version of non-denomination that you are now. And I'm like, oh, okay. First of all, not the way to approach the conversation. But second of all, you've never been to my church. Have you? And some of them have watched a live stream. And still, not the way to approach the conversation, but there are certain things that like Church of Christ people do, and there are certain things that Baptists do in their services, in their denominational services, that we might not do at my church. And it's like the Goldilocks thing. I want to say, I can't remember what pastor I listened to because I listen to a lot very frequently, but I want to say it was at my church, but I can't remember. But anyway, a couple months back, a pastor that I frequently listen to said, if you can't find a church in mid-Missouri that works for you, the problem's you. Like, there's enough churches around here. You should be able to find one and sit in it every week and, like, deal with it. Like, you know, the problem is not the churches here. The problem is you. And he wasn't just talking about his own church, but, you know, just in general. And in Vancouver, I imagine you have even more options. I mean, what a large place. You have Cantonese services. I mean, like, come on. There's a service for everyone, I'm sure. But, like, the thing that I might have run through the last week and been completely just like, you know, sometimes we have hard weeks and, like, you know, I feel spiritually empty too. People are like, you're always talking about Jesus. You're always doing this. You're always doing that. You're always serving. My mom, that's something she worries about with me. I was just with her yesterday. And she was like, you're just on the go too much. You're just doing too much. And you're always serving somebody else. And, that is where I do find like great contentment is in service to others. But and to God, of course. I mean, I think that I serve others through Him. I think that's how that works. But she's worried about me, and that's what moms do. That's what
Yeah.
parents do. Like, I get that. But, at the end of the day, I might be depleted. Saturday night, I go to bed, and some people are going out on Saturday. Heck no, I'm not going out on Saturday night. Like, I am tired. It's the end of the week for me, but I know that the morning is coming, and I know that I can be refilled and refueled. And sometimes I'm attending more than one church, even on Sundays these days, just depending on what's happening. But I enjoy the season that I'm in, and I feel led to do it, which is the most important. But, you are praying with your wife at night, and then you're attending that Sunday service. And you guys talked about, like, you had told me stories before in our one-on-ones, like hosting small groups, and like, her family has a big history of doing that, and very involved, things that I didn't know about you, which was cool to learn. But I do see a difference, like when I talk to people that are grateful, because this is grateful AF 3.0 here. So when I experience people in real life and now in virtual too, who are grateful, a lot of the times they are praying daily, just like we talked about. And you have your own morning routine too, and we didn't even touch on that, but like I've got one too, and I think that's important. But they are attending a church service. I mean, maybe we're not 100%, but 9 times out of 10 they're at church, and they're involved. Maybe it's not directly at the church service, but maybe they're hosting a small group. Like a lot of the people that I've come across in like my last decade, probably, and it's crazy because I've been at 3 different churches in the last decade. So one of those was a move, so like I physically moved. But when I think about people across those 3 churches in the last 10 years of my life, 28 to 38, I think about the people that are the most grateful and the servant hearts, because that's what I'm aiming for. I'm aiming to be a servant heart. I want to help others. That's why I'm doing things like producing a podcast. I don't have to, like that's why I'm doing the things. And so they are in some type of a small group. They're held accountable by some kind of a group of people. And so one thing that I think you and I were missing and we tried to create online is definitely accountability
Yeah.
and a group of people that connects and chats. And it's not just about business. It's not, I don't ever want to be involved in things long term that are just business or just church.
Hmm.
That's very boring to me. I want to know people on many levels. And I think that's something, it's very rare in my life. There's a few of you, and you're one of them. And so I just want to say not only thanks for pushing through the coaching, because that's a lot. It's a lot of breakthrough there. But I feel like you're a totally different guy on the other side of it. I'm proud of you.
Aw,
It's
thank you.
true.
Oh man, it's
Don't cry. Don't cry.
okay. Um,
Okay. And we're back.
yeah. Um,
What was it worthwhile in the end to go through the hard inner work? Because it was
I
hard. I know
I
that.
think that I like to say I feel, because the word think brings in logic. So what I feel, I felt that in order to get to certain levels, and I guess in terms of gamification, like leveling up, you need to
Yeah.
go through quite a bit of hardship just to push yourself to get to that. And a lot of times people will pray for patience or
Yeah.
courage or confidence, but they just believe that it's just going to magically appear. I'm going to wake up one day,
Yeah.
tell myself in the mirror, I am this, and insert every single possible goal that you can envision yourself. But really, what God, I feel like, does is gives us certain challenges and hurdles to give us the ability to overcome it. That way, you
Yeah.
can actually step into that actual person that you and he believes that you can ultimately become. So, for example, like let's just say I lack confidence in everything. So, I needed to be pushed in a way where, yeah, I even had to
Yeah.
step away. I even had to take a step back because I was so overwhelmed with how much change was happening in my life. Of course,
Yeah.
guided alongside and a little bit of a push and nudge from Kristin to get to
Yeah.
that point. to the point it almost broke me, just for a little bit of a hiccup. But
Sure.
from that and from coming out from that, you become like a different person. So even when you pray for certain things, it's not going to magically just appear. It actually comes with a hardship first, and it's almost a test
Actually.
to build like a fortitude and a grounding for you to be this version of yourself for the rest of your life, as opposed to this one microwave mentality where you shove it in and wait 30 seconds and magically this new Brendan's going to pop up. So,
Right. And I think in our bring up, our hustle culture bring up, in our online bring up, the age that we are, I think that they just pushed that on us. Like, you can change overnight. Like, nothing separates you from anybody. And in a way, you can change overnight, but you got to put in the work. It's not going to be 100%. Like, you'll be 20% better next year and you'll keep working on it if you're committed. But like, it is not a microwave mentality, like you said. And I just feel like that's what was force fed to me. I said in another interview recently, I survived corporate America. God bless America. And then I survived boss babe culture. And I can't believe that I did survive, because there was so many times when I was like, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? Like, what? But there was like people, and this is kind of where I want to end it, and I'll let you promote anything you want to, because A, I have to go pick up Andy because I'm a mom, but B, these don't need to be super long. Like, one of my biggest feedbacks from last season was like, hey, we don't need an hour and a half. And you're like, and I'm like, you're right, you don't need it an hour and a half. So keep it digestible. But one of my things I wanted to touch on, because this is something I just discovered last week talking to Brendan. I knew I was really alike to Brendan from the beginning, and we talked about gratitude, and that's something that I've identified. I've even done some formal research on it in a PhD program that I'm not completed yet, but I'm working through. I've even done formal research on online gratitude. So, like, that is how in-depth I am on the topic. But it's not all completed yet, so, like, stay tuned. I identified that early on, and I think about those churches, and we talked about that, and just kind of like how we know each other and whatnot. But one new thing that I found out, and this is an interesting common thread I didn't know that we had, I'm similar to Brendan, and I'm actually similar to his wife as well. I am, if you do the color personality profile, there's something called a triad. There's 4 colors, and they say that you can't be all 4. Like, they say that that's not possible, but a very rare percentage are 3, and I am in that. And it's not actually because I want to be rare. I actually spent my life running away from the fact that I was rare. And I realized that when I went through that personality profile. I paid like $50 to go to this event. It was like 30 minutes away. And there was like essentially for the color personality profile, there was like a master trainer that would sit down with you and verify your results. And so you listened to it, you did the profile, and then that was the day. So the Enneagram was huge for me. You and I've talked about that. That was major. That's actually when my friend was like, game recognizes game. And I was like, whew. Like, I mean, like gut punch almost, like didn't realize some of these things about myself, but makes total sense. And then there's the 16 personalities and the Myers-Briggs. There's all these different things, right? I was a psychology major. Personality profiles aren't new. But this colors one got me because I was on this journey of figuring out who I was, and I was hell-bent on figuring out who I was. Could have just asked Jesus, could have just asked God, but I'm stubborn. And so I go to this personality thing, and I find out that I'm something called a triad. And that means that I'm a chameleon and I'm relatable to almost everybody, which is why people get attracted to you in different ways, not sexual. When I say attraction, I'm talking about marketing, just for everybody at home. But like, that's why people feel like they can identify with me. So like, I've got these like widows that are like really vibing with me at church, and it's just because of a certain part of my personality. And then like, I've got people like you that are like business people and like really intense thinkers, and and then I've got other people that are sensitives and emotionals, because I'm a highly sensitive. And so anyway, I found out that not only am I like you, but I'm also just like your wife, and that's interesting, but I understand why it's this triad thing. And I'm trying to get that trainer. I made contact with her, and I'm trying to get her on the podcast because I think it'd be super cool. But we're working on that I have a new podcast coming out. So we're working on all that behind the scenes. But I found out that Esther and I, which is Brendan's wife for the viewers at home, we are both Rachel Hollis people. And the book that Brendan brought up without me prompting was Girl Stop Apologizing. And I'm going to be honest, Girl Wash Your Face was not the book for me. It was watered down at best, and that's a pun. It was not the book for me, but Girl Stop Apologizing was the book that I needed to read at the time I needed to read it. And I jumped into Rachel's group coaching with Dave. God rest his soul. That's just such a sad and tragic all the way around. Her husband died. I don't know if you know that, but anyway, it is so sad. The Dave and Rachel morning show got me through COVID. I mean, I will say it again and again. Such a big Rachel fan. I was in her group coaching for over a year. Very big fan. One of the people that propelled me into coaching. And just the good that she did for me and the things I had learned in life coaching training and stuff, I was just like, I got to do this. So anyway, I found out that that was the big book for Esther. And you have helped me through quite a few emotionally charged topics because you're very logical. And I definitely dabble in the emotions. That's a hard thing for me. And I overserve, I think is the word that you used. And I do. There's no doubt in my mind. So I have to have people like you that are emotionally intelligent around. And I've got a few of you, and I'm thankful for you guys because, and it is men. They're typically, moreover than not, the emotional intelligent ones of the bunch from what I've found. But what do you think? Like, what is your advice, your best advice for somebody that's you 10 years ago, 15 years ago? And they're trying to find their way, but they've got this because you have the ability to communicate with many people as well. You've got a sensitive side to you that doesn't always come out, but I know it. So what's your best advice for the young Brendan? What's your best advice for those people? Maybe they're trying to make it online. Maybe they're trying to make it in business, in life. What do you say to them?
I think I feel like me 10 years ago, just again, coming from my background, especially being Asian, upbringing,
Yeah.
which is whatever you do, your family will kind of deem it as not kind of good enough, unfortunately. Just if I could tell myself something, and I've actually meditated and literally visualized myself speaking
Yeah.
to myself 10 years ago.
Me too.
And one of the biggest things was telling him, like, it's going to be okay. And you just need to lean into this fear of like uncertainty and doubt and stress and anxiety.
And not being good enough.
Yes. You need to lean into it because that's who you want to become on the other side of it. And it's going to suck, but to just keep pushing through. And choosing entrepreneurship with my upbringing was extremely hard, and it still is extremely hard to this day. Growing up in a family where certain things are glamorized with, like, the high paying job,
The
the
degrees,
A
yes.
pluses, the GPA. Whereas, like, I went down the route of doing athletics, which does not pay you any money, right? I excelled in athletics unless you become a professional.
Same with theater, not
Yeah.
glamorous.
Yeah. Yeah. So it would just be to lean in. Everything's going to be okay. It's not the end of the world. And to just keep pushing through, because the person on the other side, you will thank yourself for putting yourself in this situation, which scares the crap out of you, regardless.
Yeah, I love that. So this question came from my interview with Megan Dirks. She wrote a book called Girl on the Left and asked 20 women that same question. And it's fascinating. Like, I don't want to spoil it for anybody. Order the book. Amazing, not just for women, like so much that you could just internalize from their experiences. It's the experiences of 20 people. It's a great project. But then, so I kind of got fixated on that after I met Megan. She's part of the She Rises authors community, like where I've written a book and stuff. And then, it's like been my Roman Empire. Like, those things that you just think about nonstop. Like, it's just been my Roman Empire for like the last few months. Because I've been on this journey, like I've been on this like self-knowledge journey. And you and I have shared so much of it because we are the same exact personality profiles, which is just so rare that we would be both the same wild. No question in my mind why we get along, It's so cool and such a power move when you learn the people that you surround yourself with, when you learn about them. Because then you know them and you can interact with them better and you can like be a better friend to them. And I feel like that's something, even though we're like, miles away and you're in a different country, I feel like that's something you and I have done very well. There are things that both of us have in common, and there are strengths that we both have. And I think that we've leaned into that early on and never tried to be anything other than just real. And, there are bad versions of us too. Like, we're not perfect people. So we have this series at church going on, and of course that's going to shape a lot of my opinions because I, prioritize that in my life. And it is, our pastor's talking about things he knew when he was 20. And it just coincided with this whole girl on the left thing. And it's just made me want to ask more people that question because there's so much wisdom. And when Brendan knew me when my grandmother was passing away. I had just met him that year, actually. And then my grandmother passed away. It was really hard. She was my person. And I sat down and I transcribed her life, essentially. Like, I asked her questions, interviewed her when she was on hospice. And I just learned so much. Like, I feel like the knowledge that I acquired in those 2 months, however long it was, it's like completely changed. And it actually was a lot to do with how I wrote the book as well. And the book is about me, but that is a big part of it. It was having that experience and takeaways from her. And I think it's our duty, like we talked about service and we talked about gratitude, and like, let's talk about like our civic duty or our spiritual duty. It's just to pay it forward. If we have a skill that could help somebody else, I think it's like, it's not like you can never charge for your services or anything like that, but I think it's like our duty. Like, I knew that I could help Brendan. Like, I could sense what was going on with him. I didn't know the exact specifics, but I knew I was going to be able to help him, and he's a friend. And I'm like, dude, let me help you. So my ending thing today, I'm going to go pick up Annie and whatnot, but I just want to say, like, everything that you've shared, thank you for being vulnerable to do that. But to anybody listening, like, lean in. Exactly what Brendan said. And if you have a friend that's offering you something, you should try it. And it wasn't always comfortable. But not only are we closer on the other side, but I just see a different, better, enhanced version of you. And I hope that that's actually going into all areas of your life. I've seen you really focus in business, and I've seen you really decide, make some decisions. Whereas before you were saying yes, 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 but you weren't really deciding. And I've seen you take a lot of action in your life, and that makes me so happy. As a friend and as a coach and all the things, as a Christian, whatever, it makes me happy. So I hope people take away, gratitude, grateful AF 3.0 years later. I hope they'll take away the lean in message and, the daily habits that we talked about, which are really important. And when somebody offers something to you, even if it seems foreign, give it a shot. Because I truly feel like there was no money exchanged in that. That was just a friendship thing. And sometimes I think when people offer services for free, we don't think of it like, I'm not sure. Like, it's almost like we equate money with where our time should be. Like, well, if I'm paying for it, I think subconsciously there is something to that.
Yeah.
But in this instance, the Brendan I'm talking with summer of 2025, the Brendan I knew summer of 2024, two different humans and highly evolved. So kudos to you, my friend. Grateful AF. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Grateful AF.
Grateful AF. All right, guys, you heard it here first. We're still grateful. I think we're 6 years out from the original interview at this point. Still rocking the gratitude. Thankful, grateful, blessed. The other thing that I wrote down on my little list as I was taking notes while you were talking, because we love music and we talk about music a lot, the song Overcomer by Mandisa. Have you ever heard that song?
No.
Go put it on your Spotify right now and message me. You're going to love it. Okay. Much love, everybody. Grateful. Thank you, Brendan. Have a great day, bud.
All right. Take care. See y'all.
Bye.